We have 200 members, 220 roughly. They have 20. So don't be impressed by the name. This is where the action is. So you need to be a member of this club, and you could do that at this back table back there. So my name is Carol Fuller, for those who don't know me, and I have led this. I have led this club as president for 10 years, and the torch is passed. You all voted in the new co-presidents, Peggy Flynn and Angela Chestnut, last month, and so my reign of terror is over. But I will be around. I'm going to stay on the board and be involved in events, and you have to keep the old folks around for their historical knowledge, so I'll be here. I do want to tell you that all we're doing today are candidates. And so on January 4th at 5:30, and you'll probably get repeated notices, but I know that there's a lot of stuff between now and January, holidays of various sorts. So it'll be an all Zoom meeting, 5:30. And, if you don't have Zoom, talk to a friend, go watch with them. If you can't access it. And there will be online voting for you then. And there are going to be 2 local measures on the ballot, and that's what we'll be talking about. It won't be more than an hour. We scheduled it so your evening will basically be free. So that's the story. This endorsement meeting will be led by Mike Rotkin, right here, who was on the Santa Cruz City Council for 26 years. He knows where all the bodies are buried, and he runs a really good program. And the other thing about this club, I'm really proud of this club. In addition to being old and large, this club has the best public policy programs that you can find around. If you want to know about our water systems, our county budgets, our city budgets, that's it. We tape our programs. They're on our website. If you're digging around for information, candidates, go watch the budget runs for the office level you're seeking. You'll get a lot of information there. So this is an important club. And, Democrats spend most of their time arguing with each other, frankly. And it's too bad because we have a terrifying national picture going on. So I hope we can, remember that these are personal, that we all, Democrats basically want the same kind of just and fair and healthy society. But, we have very different ideas about how you get there. We're not, but, accord the other side when you disagree, some personal respect. And remember that who the real enemy is, Trump and that ilk. So I want to just remind you, January 4th, the endorsement meeting, it's pushed that early because you will be getting your vote by mail ballots in the first week of February. So we want a chance for our name to be added to those measures endorsers. We want to give them our money. We're able to give a fair amount of money because the membership is so large, and because a lot of our membership could pay $25 and they give us $100. So we have money to distribute to our endorsed candidates today. Mike's going to tell you more about that. So without further ado, I give you Mike Rotkin. Oh, I'm getting a time.
Working yet?
No.
There you go. First of all, thanks for being here. I want to thank the candidates for participating. As somebody who ran for office 6 times in the city of Santa Cruz, I want to say appreciate that we're asking these candidates to tell us about their world philosophy and what they're going to do for us for the next 4 years. Giving them 3 minutes to tell you their broad views, vision. They're going to get 1 question each and 2 minutes to answer something. I picked something really horrible you got to fix. Tell us how you're going to do it in 2 minutes. And then there's a minute to wrap up. We only, by our charter, only allowed to invite registered Democrats to participate. So there are some other candidates in these races, not many, but there are some others that are not here today because we're not allowed to endorse them. No point in hearing from them since we no point in hearing from them because we can't possibly endorse them. A couple of different things. Those of you who are online, the voting is going to take place at the end of the program. It's the only way we can do it technically. So, you can go up and feed your family breakfast or whatever, but and hopefully you listen to the candidates, but at the end, you get to vote and put your vote in. For those of us in the room, you can vote anytime you like. The ballots are outside, you'll get those ballots and make them happen. Let's see what else I have to tell you. For those of you who are voting online, you have to use your name as you registered as a Democratic Women's Club member. You have a different, can't use nicknames or change things, otherwise it won't be recognized and your vote won't be counted. So you have to try and remember how did you register as a member of the Democratic Women's Club so you can do your voting online. That's not a problem for those of you in the room. We have one item of business. The Democratic Women's Club recommends that we give the maximum allowed by each jurisdiction to the candidates whom we endorse. That's going to be, if we give the money in January, the amounts change. We'll be able to give $550 to any candidate for county supervisor's position and $450 to a city of Santa Cruz council member position. But that's a decision that needs to be made by the members. So I'm asking those of you who are online to raise your hand on this vote, or to use the little raise hand thing that happens in Zoom. Those in the room are just going to ask for a show of hands on this. I need a motion to put on the floor from a member of the club the board's recommendation that we give the maximum allowable by each jurisdiction. Such a motion. I see Fred Keeley made that motion. Who's
Second.
Dale Cutler made a second of that motion. All those in favor on here in the room and online who support that motion, please raise your hand. Put up the one count exactly because it's going to be majorities all the time. Now put them down. Anyone who opposes this motion, please raise your hand. That carries, and that's how much money we're going to be giving to these candidates. Thank you very much. So now we'll begin our program. The order on the ballot was random in terms of how people, I drew names out of a hat to figure out what order they'd be in. And the presentations is going to have to do with how people see themselves when we get to the paper. So our first contest is for the First District County Board of Supervisors. We have two candidates. Please come up. We have a timekeeper, Diana Alfaro. Let's give her a round of applause. We have strict time limits. You finish the sentence you're on when time runs out. Don't carry on with another paragraph and thought. We will cut you off. Okay. So we're going to start from this side with Mama Koenig. First thing is 3 minutes to tell us why you're running for anything you'd like to tell us about your candidacy for County Board of Supervisors. First system.
All right, thank you. First district prerogative, get to go first. Love it. So nice to be here with you all today, this morning, and I really welcome this opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better. What can I tell you about myself? Well, first of all, I'm your local boy. I'm what you get when you know someone born and oh, sorry, am I not projecting enough? We got the online audience. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, born at the old Frederick Street Hospital, did my first steps on Seabright, grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains in the Corralitos area where my parents still live, and then, crashed on my grandparents' couch here in Live Oak because I was figuring out how to start a company and my brother was going to UCSC. So I know what it means to live in this county from the mountains to the sea. And I think that's why you see such a broad base of support for me throughout this community, because I know the issues, whether it's landslides and power outages and lack of internet, right down to homelessness and housing prices and everything else here that we see more in the urban area. Oh, and of course, traffic too. And something else you should know about me, my name, Manu, it means bird in Polynesian. And while my own Polynesian bloodlines have been a bit diluted, it's true, down to 2.5%, my mom grew up in Tahiti and Hawaii. And I grew up visiting my mother's family down there. And over the course of that time, growing up visiting my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my uncles and aunts, I realized paradise is being despoiled by what we're doing here on the mainland. Whether it's the death of the coral reef causing algae blooms washing up on the beach, all the plastic washing up on the beach, the diesel vehicles whizzing around. I felt a deep need to address, and this is 1 minute, done or left? Oh, wow, all right. Deep need to take action on this. At heart, is environmentalism that drove me to get into politics, and it's what drives me every day. I'm a Democrat. I believe firmly in a woman's right to choose, that we need to do everything we can to address the climate crisis, that our society is stronger because of immigration and because of diversity. It's a big reason I care so much about addressing the housing crisis here, because I think if we want to keep Santa Cruz a dynamic place, we need affordable housing so that all types of people can live here. And I'll end with this, which is, I think, the opposite of the radical right that we're seeing in our national politics so much. It's not the radical left, it's radical collaboration. That's what I bring to you today. That's what I've practiced on the Board of Supervisors over the last 3 years, which I hope to do in my second term. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Lonnie Faulkner, and I'm honored to be here today as a candidate for First District Supervisor and as a member of the Democratic Women's Club, the Mid-County Dems, as an alternate for the Democratic Central Committee and the Legislative Committee, and as a delegate for the State Democratic Convention. My core values center around growing solutions together with the community through ground-up collaborative partnerships. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in physiology, and professionally, I've worked nationally and internationally across agencies and functions, bringing people together to implement large-scale and small-scale projects with multi-million-dollar budgets. Work that parallels the kind of functions that one does as county supervisor. I've lived in the First District for 16 years and the county for 27 years, both in rural and urban neighborhoods. I'm running because we're facing a severe affordability crisis where our local workers receive low wages and face extremely high housing expenses compared to other counties. We're facing a climate crisis where we need a leader committed to wise action, not trying to stall certification of our county local coastal program with the county commission on the request of a wealthy few. Traffic and safety on our streets has gotten exponentially worse in the past 3 years compared to pre-pandemic. And we need a champion that is skilled at collaborating at all levels, who builds strong relationships with our legislators, working creatively to keep and bring more funding to Santa Cruz County. I've been asked to run by representatives of our senior and disability organizations, our school board and fire board members, urban and rural community members throughout my district that say their voices have not been heard, their needs have not been met. They want true collaborative leadership like they've had in the past with Supervisor Jan Butz and John Leopold. I have numerous endorsements I've listed on my bio, including Planned Parenthood and the Pajaro Valley Dems, and 7 major unions so far, and more that we're waiting to hear from. Locally, I serve as a stakeholder in numerous county agencies, including the Metro, the Office of Resilience, the Response, Resilience, and Recovery, on the housing element, the Community Traffic Safety Coalition, and I'm an executive committee member for the local chapter of Sierra Club. I've contributed to several successful grant applications, helping to bring millions of dollars to Santa Cruz County, and testified in support of affordable housing and rent stabilization. I am committed to serving our community and would be honored to have your endorsement.
I have a question. You have 2 minutes to answer it, for which I apologize again. Same question for all the supervisors candidates. The question is, while affordable housing is obviously a significant part of the solution to the homeless crisis, another big component is the lack of adequate mental health and addiction services, a major area of county responsibility. What would you do to try and address this problem? We'll start with that.
Well, I think we're on our way in terms of helping to bring more funds to the mental health crisis. And really at the very base, that's what we need, is we need more money. And so in the last Board of Supervisors meeting, those of you who follow that, we've now passed, or we're moving towards putting onto the ballot a measure that will help bring approximately $10 million to our county with a potential ballot measure. So hopefully everyone that is able to vote for that will vote for that. Really, it's the funding and then the coordination in bringing our different agencies together throughout the county. Now that has started about a couple years ago, and it's a great advance forward where all the different agencies now are communicating together through a central hub. And the more that we can support that and strengthen that relationship, the better. So we have the funding, we have the collaboration, and then we really have to look at the data. And in terms of the underlying support to address health issues and our health crisis is really circled back to affordable housing. Affordable housing and housing as healthcare is really essential. And so the more that we can get our folks into housing and wraparound services for those who need it, the more quickly we're going to address our mental health crisis in this county. And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
First off, let's look at the data on homelessness. We're doing really well in this county. 22% reduction in the homeless population between 2022 and 2023. We gave out over 600 emergency housing vouchers for 900 individuals housed. I've also been a big champion of housing. One of my first actions is when getting on the Board of Supervisors, working with Supervisor Ryan Coonerty, was to say the county is going to do its part. We committed to building 160 units of housing in the unincorporated area. We're more than halfway there. Between Veterans Village, Park Haven Plaza, and soon a behavioral health bridge housing project in the 1st District, we are making progress on this issue. Now, of course, the other big component to homelessness, and I think this is part of what the question is getting at, is how do we deliver the health services? Well, we are actually rolling out 24/7 alternative crisis response system starting January 1, 2024. A CAHOOTS-like program. I've been calling for it for day one. I know many of you have as well. I've worked with some of you early on in my term on a program like that. It did take a little while to align the funding sources, but it is coming. Why I'm so excited about it is because it means that every single person in this room can help address the crisis. If you see someone suffering from mental illness on the street, you can now call 911 and we will send not a police officer, not a sheriff deputy, but healthcare workers who can help that person. And so rather than ignoring the humanity of our fellow human beings, we can help connect them with the services they need. I've been an advocate for actually making our county needle exchange service mobile so that we can also deliver services through that program. And of course, we are standing up a new youth crisis stabilization center in Live Oak, and we have a temporary facility going in at Watsonville so that we don't have children suffering from mental illness waiting around in the emergency room to mitigate. Thank you.
So one thing that up there, the comments lyrics, something behind the back.
Thank you so much. The incumbent candidate and I are like night and day in our values, our intentions, and our actions in regards to equity, the environment, labor rights, and economic justice. I will bring respectful leadership to the role of supervisor, collaborating at all levels and honoring volunteers that serve on our commissions and work groups. I'm committed to keeping the promise that we made when we were given the money to buy the rail line, to join the California State Rail Network and build passenger rail and a tram. My superpower is bringing people together across diverse backgrounds and engaging collaboration. This is why I've been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, 7 unions, and several other organizations. My name is Lonnie Faulkner. I'm committed to serving our community, and I kindly ask for your endorsement for 1st District Supervisor. Thank you.
First of all, I'm gonna have to politely disagree with my candidate's statement there, that we're like night and day, because frankly, she's agreed with just about every policy I've ever worked on. We have a little bit of a disagreement here on the rail issue. But when it comes to affordable housing, homelessness, I find her supporting most of all the policies that I've ever worked on. I'll address the elephant in the room with like the 20 seconds I have as far as Greenway goes. Yes, I wanted our community to avoid spending money on studies that we didn't need. But since that vote on Measure D, I have honored my role as a representative. I've supported the passenger rail environmental impact report. We committed $9 million to that. I went to Sacramento and worked with our state legislators lobbying, and we got $3.5 million for that study. And I've written letters in support of the passenger rail station in Pajaro, and even made sure that $1.5 million of discretionary first district money stayed committed to the rail trail so we could get matching state funds for that project. So I'd be honored by your endorsement. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause. Next one, second district supervisor candidates, please come up. Grab your name tags on the way up.
Mike, how do we get a question and submit it to you?
So one question each candidate. It's already been- so
What? I don't.
the questions have already been,
Okay.
sorry,
I
don't have enough time is the problem.
Yes, you do.
There are four Democratic Party candidates for the second district supervisor seat. In the same fashion, we'll start at this end.
Oh.
And ask you to start with three minute introductory comment, and if you go, and they come back with a 2-minute question. So we'll start with Gustavo.
Great turnout. Thank you all for showing up. I hope what I have to say will convince you that I'd be a good supervisor. A bit about my background. First of all, lifelong Democrat. So that gives you a sense of my value system. I've lived in the Mid-County area for 43 years, happily married, 2 kids in college age. When I'm not working, either politically or my day job, I'm an outdoor person, play beach volleyball when my body allows me, bike and hike also. So a bit about what I bring to the table. The key issues, as everyone knows, housing, affordability, plus the unhoused, transportation. A key issue for me is disaster resiliency. And another key issue for me is climate adaptation. So what I bring to the table is I am a director on Soquel Creek's Water Board. I was elected a little over 20 years ago, been reelected 5 times, top vote getter each time. Collaboratively, we work with the county, with the city, with private well pumpers, and with small water mutual companies to come up with a plan for sustainability for water. And I was instrumental in forming the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency, and I was the first chair. So at Soquel Creek Water District, we have a project we call Soquel Pure Water Soquel, where we're developing new water. It's recycling, purification, and it's injecting it and recharging it into the aquifer to keep seawater intrusion from contaminating our water further. So it's just an example of what my background, I should say also, I've got a master's in oceanography and a doctorate in earth sciences. What I bring to the table for being a supervisor, I know it's a difficult job, not always pleasant, but it's a pivotal time in Santa Cruz County history. There's going to be new supervisors and new opportunities. So like last year when you endorsed me for Soquel Creek Water District Director, I hope you endorse me for supervisor.
Good morning, everybody. I know many of you here, I've been endorsed by this group 4 times. I grew up in the Salinas Valley. I'm Candace Serpa. My roots run deep in the Monterey Bay region. I'm a mother, a wife, and a medical social worker who's worked in all local hospitals in this county, helping countless families and people. I have a bachelor's degree from Humboldt State University, where I took an oath of social and environmental responsibility, and I have a master's in social work from Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, one of the top schools in the nation for my profession. My mom has a deep history of public service that was passed to me working for the first elected woman, Barbara Shipman, to the Board of Supervisors in Monterey County. She later worked for Simone Salinas and finally for Sam Farr for 20 years. I have lived in rural Aptos for 26 years. Hold on, change hands. Can't read what I'm writing. What I've written. I've lived in rural Aptos 26 years, raised my children here, volunteered in their schools, was a team manager for countless soccer and little league teams, all while holding a job as a medical social worker. I put in the first playground in the entire region for kids with disabilities on the Valencia campus and wrote every grant, did all the program management. I have been elected on the PVUSD board for 14 years. Both Joe Simitian and Sam Farr have disclosed that their school board service was the hardest elected position they've ever held. That prepares me well for the county supervisor position. In my time on the board, I've only missed 3 meetings in 14 years, governed a $330 million budget, and championed a $150 million school bond, finishing Pajaro Valley High School, bringing equity to the kids that go to that school. I have served for many years on nonprofit boards, helping to enrich and provide critical services for children, youth, and families in District 2 in the Pajaro Valley. How much time do I am a supporter of labor, having been a member of SEIU and organizing 2 of my workplaces, both in the clinic and in the hospital. I have voted to preserve the very rich benefits and best regional salaries of our teachers and staff in the Pajaro Valley, and I'm very proud to have protected those benefits for 14 years. I am running because a woman has not been elected to the board in 16 years. I'd like to change that now. We've got two very well-prepared women running who are before you today, and we deserve a chance to serve on this board in Santa Cruz County. I am prepared, I am kind, approachable, collaborative, interested, and courageous. I get things accomplished for kids and families, and I will continue to work hard for our whole county. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here this morning, and thank you to the DWC for hosting today's forum. My name is Kristen Brown. I am currently serving as the Vice Mayor of the City of Capitola in my 7th year on my 2nd term on the Capitola City Council, and I want to be your next 2nd District Supervisor. I'm a 4th-generation county resident from a family with a legacy in public service. I've worked for the past 13 years in public policy, including in roles in nonprofits, government organizations, and private businesses, including time as a congressional aide for Congressman Sam Farr and Congressman Jimmy Panetta. I currently serve as the vice chair of both the Metro Transit District and the Regional Transportation Commission, where just this week, alongside this year's board chair, Shebra Kalantari Johnson, we successfully advocated for $34 million for the reimagined Metro Transit District, $2 million for the electric passenger rail, and a total of $61 million for complete streets and road repair projects. Was an incredibly exciting week in that regard. I'm the first past president of the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, where I've served for the past 7 years, and last year led the board through the Regional Housing Needs Assessment process, and in 2020 worked on the Central Coast Housing Working Group. I've also worked on the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary Advisory Committee, tirelessly advocating for coastal resiliency and the protection of our beloved underwater national park. I have a bachelor's degree in political communication and a master's in public sector management and leadership. And I'm proud of my accomplishments in my time as a council member. I've successfully included youth voices on all of our council boards and commissions and provided additional opportunities for youth through a dedicated funding mechanism for youth programs. I have successfully enacted mobile home rent stabilization, therefore preserving vital affordable housing stock within our city. I've led community workshops on implicit bias and racial justice, supported coastal resiliency funding, and invested an additional $500,000 in local road repairs. I care very deeply for our community, and I believe that I have the experience and education necessary to step into this job and get it done on day one. And many in our community would agree. I've been endorsed by every mayor and vice mayor in the county, a majority of council members, Sheriff Jim Hart, Monterey Bay Central Labor Council, Pajaro Valley Cesar Chavez Democratic Club, Santa Cruz YIMBY, SEIU 521, which represents county employees, and SEIU 2015 for the long-term caregivers. I'm excited by the opportunity to be here today. I would be honored by your endorsement, and I'm looking forward to your question. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tony Crane. I am a 40-year resident of the county and mainly in Aptos. I'm a father of 4. I've got 2 kids at Cabrillo right now. And I'm, as of 5:30 last night, I'm a candidate. I, with much consternation, was not sure what I was going to do, but I was compelled by my experiences in the county to move forward. So I am unprepared and unpolished at this point. I am a Democrat, which to me means that I am socially liberal, but I tend to be fiscally conservative. And what that means to me is that whatever services that we're going to provide, whatever funding we have, that it has to be done properly and transparently. And my experiences have been that that is not the case. In fact, I have personal experience with my neighborhood of having the county be less than ethical in managing something that should never have happened. And I've been fighting this for 6 years. And so I just feel like somebody needs to step up and hold people accountable for whatever it is that they decide to do in this county. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet because that's all I can do at this point. Thank you.
We're going to start with Kim. Around this way. So this is the same question as the last supervisor, but I'll ask it again. While affordable housing is obviously a significant part of the solution to the homeless crisis, another big component is the lack of adequate mental health and addiction services, a major area of county responsibility. What would you do to try and address this problem?
Thank you. So this is my area of expertise. I am a social worker by training. I've worked in healthcare, social services, behavioral health, harm reduction, substance use disorder. This is my area of expertise. When I see presentations made to the board, I often see that there's certain questions that are not asked by our current board of supervisors because they don't have the background that I have and actually interfacing with every one of these programs in our county. I know how they do and they do not work. The governor has made this a cornerstone of his administration. I am a part of a coalition called Prescribe Safe, where we meet regionally with doctors, providers, and social and healthcare workers. I've created programs in my hospital to distribute Narcan. The first time in Monterey County, it started at Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital. I've created grief support programs for Spanish-speaking individuals because there were no services for those people in the community. I created one during the COVID era. So I will continue to advocate for money and services. I will ask hard questions of the leaders that come before me and not just rubber stamping. One of the main problems in our county is that there are no beds for people who have Medicare. So for anybody who is above 65, you cannot get them into a substance use treatment bed in the whole county. We have a lot of people working on this. The governor has released tremendous amounts of resources, and our friends at Encompass are putting together unbelievable resources, which we will be able to access. I have people in my emergency room in Salinas who are on 5150s that it takes. I just had one 14 days in the hospital while we search for a treatment bed for that person, a psychiatric bed somewhere in the state. It's an unbelievable need, and there's a lot of money rolling downhill to fix this need. So I look forward to continue to work on this on behalf of our citizenry and our families in our community. Thanks.
Thank you.
No way I can top what Kim said. But I will say I can learn. Also, this issue gets very close to home. My wife is Denise Ellerick, and she has a target on her because she addresses these things. She started the Harm Reduction Coalition of Santa Cruz County and gets people to the services by going out and, boots on the ground. So, of course, funding is critical, but supporting groups like Harm Reduction Coalition of Santa Cruz, who have state grants and who can fill in where the county can't fill in, is important as well. So I'll just close by saying that this is not an issue where I've got a simple answer. Kim's giving you the complicated answer, but what I can say is that I'm empathetic to the issue and will, when an elected supervisor, will bring myself up to speed on it.
20 seconds.
Interesting question for me, actually quite pertinent, because the issue that has compelled me to run, what has been a challenge for me over the last 6 years, has to do with managing our mental health care. And what I have seen, experienced personally, was a total mismanagement of funds that were specifically brought forward from the state to fund mental health. I do have personal experience with that within my family, so definitely sympathetic and know that we need the services. But what I experienced was a mismanagement of funds that went above unethical, and it was hard for me to see, but it really compelled me to be more diligent about following what's happening in the county. I was going to the board meetings for a while and expressing myself, but that seemed to be kind of a waste of time. So I've provided all of the information that I have to the board members, to the media regarding this incident. And so I'm hoping that from that we can learn that there are better ways to manage our money, and certainly that we need to be held accountable for the money that we spend. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the question. This, of course, is a complex and multifaceted issue that I think we need to look at from several different angles. So first, I'll say the county is about to be implementing in the next several years two new programs that I think are going to be a part of addressing this. One is CalAIM and the other is Care Courts. So I've been watching or attending every single Board of Supervisors meeting for the last year, and I've been watching how this has been coming forward and what it's going to mean for us in the coming years. CalAIM will change the way that people have access to Medi-Cal services, and the Care Courts provide optional treatment, mental health and substance abuse treatment for those who are unhoused and experiencing severe untreated mental health. However, these are unfunded mandates, and so we've got to find some money for this, and that's going to be an issue that we need to deal with in the coming years. Additionally, addressing these issues through a fully staffed Health and Human Services Department is going to be crucial. And again, we need funding to make sure that we can afford our hardworking staff. Again, it was mentioned previously, there's a tax measure coming that can help to address some of these issues, but it's not going to be enough. Finally, I would say that regardless of what public policy can do to address this, we need to address the social stigma around receiving mental health care and substance abuse treatment, because until we can address that as a society, individuals will not feel comfortable seeking the help that they need. And so that's something that public policy can help get the services and get people to those services, but it's up to all of us as a society, as a community, to ensure that we are spreading the word that seeking help for mental health, seeking treatment for mental health or substance abuse is no different than seeking treatment for diabetes or any other physical health issue. Thank you for the question.
1 minute left to sum things up. We're going to start with Kristen, work around the other direction.
That wasn't a lot of time to take breath. I thank you again for the opportunity to join you today. I appreciate all of you being here today. I am honored by the potential opportunity to serve the residents of District 2 and the county at large. We've got a lot of hard work ahead of us in the coming years, and I'm ready to step into this role and start doing the work. My day-to-day life, I eat, sleep, and breathe public policy, either as the Vice Mayor in the City of Capitola or in my role as the Vice President of Local and Regional Government Relations in my day job. This is what I do, and there is never a time when I am not thinking about how to solve problems. I hope that you've learned more about me and that you feel that I am the best candidate to step into this role next year, in 2025. I encourage each of you to reach out if you've had any questions about anything that I've said today. I've got literature out, and if you have any questions or comments or would like to meet, please don't hesitate to reach out. In the meantime, I would really appreciate your endorsement today and look forward to the coming year on the campaign trail. Thank you so much.
Well, after hearing these two ladies speak and knowing that the possibility of this room endorsing me at this point is probably fairly slim. And putting some thought into what I just said about going to the board meetings and trying to relay my thoughts and my concerns about the county. I think you should endorse one of these two women here, because it's really, really hard. It's really hard to go to the board meetings and look at the 5 guys all the time. So, but boy, they're polished and they're educated, and wow, I'm impressed. Thank you.
Well, I'm impressed by all the candidates, including John. He's just recently decided to throw his hat in the ring. Hats off to you. Had a press release in November, end of November, so I'm also less polished than Kristen, most polished, and Kim, almost most polished. So just to, I've said numerous times about my experience with SoCal Creek Water District. That counts for something. I've talked about my education. That counts for something. So I too would vote for a woman if they were if the other candidates were equal. That's what you'll have to decide, whether or not being a man is something that should be held against me. Or whether you should go to the issues and see who you think is good to do that. Do the best on it.
Thank you, everybody here for stepping up and stepping forward. It's not a comfortable thing to get up in front of you. And I appreciate my colleagues here very much. What I'll say about myself is that I have very deep roots in my community. I've lived square in the Aptos community in the District 2 for 26 years. I live in a rural area. I understand the rural needs. We have no connectivity still to this day in the rural area. Our roads are falling apart. Planning department issues are very, very difficult to navigate and have prevented housing, frankly, from being built. I have more than 200 local community endorsements, and this is really what's important to me because people know who I am. After my 14 years of service on the Pajaro Valley Board, they understand who I am and they trust me. I'm courageous, I get things done, and I took on a Republican operative when they tried to fire our superintendent, and I prevailed along with Maria Roscoe. I look forward to working on behalf of the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. A round of applause for the. Next, we'll hear from the 5th District County Board of Supervisors.
There's only 3 of us, right?
Right. We don't have 4 yet.
Oh, you want to be on that?
We'll start on this side with Monica.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Monica Martinez, and I'm running for 5th District Supervisor. We start by saying that I'm incredibly honored to be here. It's a wonderful group of people. And I have been a public servant my entire life. It runs in my family. My dad is a retired fire captain. My mom's a retired elementary school teacher, and both were active in their unions. So making a difference in my community was a given in my family. But being a queer Latinx woman from Bakersfield, I experienced really early on what it was like to not have a voice and what it was like to experience rejection, which is why I dedicated my life to public service and to giving others a voice. And that's also why I'm running for 5th District Supervisor. For the last decade, I've served as the CEO of Encompass Community Services. We're the largest health and human services nonprofit in Santa Cruz County. And I'm proud of many advancements that we've been able to make in some of the biggest issues facing our community, whether that's homelessness and housing and helping to advance affordable housing in our community, the SUD and drug epidemic, the fentanyl epidemic that's hitting our community, advancing mental health services for youth. I have a deep understanding in how public services are intended to serve our community and how public service can be done well, and also how it's not working. So when people ask me why I'm running for 5th District Supervisor, I use 3 words: recovery, resiliency, and representation. Recovery, because the 5th District has been hit hard by climate-related disasters, and let's be real, our county has done an absolutely unacceptable job helping people get back into their homes. We need to do better. Resiliency, because it's not just enough to survive, but my community, we deserve to thrive. I'm choosing to raise my kids in this community, and I want them to have abundance and joy. And representation. Because wouldn't it be a refreshing change to have a woman's voice on the Board of Supervisors? And not just a woman's voice, but a qualified woman's voice on the Board of Supervisors. I'm honored to have received incredible endorsements throughout my campaign. I'm the only candidate who has received labor endorsements from numerous labor unions. I'm the only candidate who's received the Planned Parenthood endorsement. I've received endorsements from many community leaders. And today I'm proud to announce that this morning I received the endorsement of our incumbent Supervisor Bruce McPherson. So I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to join all of you and ask you for your endorsement for my campaign for 5th District Supervisor. Thank you.
Am I in the right spot?
Good.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. I'm eager to get to know all of you. My birthday was last week, and I want to make sure everyone realizes I'm 62 years old and I'm a wise woman. Mother of 2 incredible young adults raised in Santa Cruz Mountains, and I have voted 18 years in Santa Cruz County, located in Santa Clara County school boundaries. My tech career was amazing, and I took a hiatus from that when my oldest son became ill, and that's where my path for working in education began. It has offered me the opportunity to work at the federal level, the state level, and multi-county legislation and governance, which I found that I really, truly love. I want to tell you a story. Let's go back to 2016. I was up for re-election on our Lakeside Elementary School District Board of Education. On Tuesday, November 8th, 2016, my eldest son, then in high school, and I stayed up watching the election results come in. Unbelievingly, what we were seeing. Trump shockingly was winning, and the next morning we woke up to total disbelief and sudden grief. Do you remember that gut-wrenching feeling? I sure do. Now, that feeling that we adults had, what happened at Lakeside Elementary that morning was parents come and drop their kids off. We have a picnic table where parents get out and we come and talk to each other in the morning. Every morning we have flag salute and the Pledge of Allegiance. I watched child after child get out of their cars, especially the young girls who walked up to their friends, crying and hugging them. These girls are voters today. They know that Title IX got gutted. They know Title IX must, before the presidential election, be changed and has been delayed now till March. So why I'm running? California became a blue state. We need to remember that. We became a blue state. What we feel protected today because of our laws can change tomorrow. I am running because I cannot run. I've been a role model for my students, twice elected to my elementary board, and now on the high school board. We are role models to them, and every ballot should have parity, men to women, for every open seat. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. There we go. Good morning, and thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with you guys. I deeply appreciate it. My name is Christopher Bradford, and I'm running for 5th District Supervisor because I've directly experienced what it is when the county government fails you. Now, I've been a fierce advocate for my community for quite some time now, as we've dealt with water issues, with fire issues, and so I've had to fight. I've had to fight to get my own house rebuilt after the latest fires. I've had to fight to get clean water and get clean drinking water for my children to drink. You know, I've been in the trenches for our communities for some time, and I'm ready to take that fight to a higher plane. It's deeply important that we have someone representing us who has experience of these things and isn't insulated from what happens when government fails. You know, diversity is important, and that includes socioeconomic diversity. Many of the people in our district are working class folks, and the problems we experience aren't alleviated by the government more often than not. Oftentimes they are made worse. So we need change. We're not going to get change by doing the same thing. We're not going to get change by putting the same kind of people in place. You know, we have to do something different, and we have to be brave. It's important now if we want our children to have the opportunities that we had. I'm a father of 6, 2 sets of twins, so I got there easier than most folks, but a lot of children. And my children, a lot of them are getting close to graduation time. When they graduate, are they going to be able to rent a place and start their life in Santa Cruz County? That's a negative. No, sir. Absolutely not. I had that opportunity when I was young. I got a low-paying job at Starbucks. I worked hard. I moved out to an apartment with my brothers, and I started my life. And my kids, if things keep going the way they are right now, will not have that same opportunity. And that's unacceptable to me. Right? We have to look to the future. We have to be prepared. You know, we can't just react to the problems that we have today. We have to anticipate what's coming tomorrow. I'm a software engineer. I'm an IT systems engineer. I have a ton of experience when it comes to technology. We have things like artificial intelligence coming that are going to greatly impact the working class and the white collar class in our community, and not long from now. We need someone in position who understands what's going to happen, who has those technical skills and that technical experience. I've been blessed to be endorsed by a number of powerful community members who've helped me in the fight. I'm very proud to announce that I have not been endorsed by Bruce McPherson. And it's probably my favorite endorsement so far, because he thinks I'll be trouble, and I plan on being trouble, good trouble. Right? We got pushback. Thank you very much.
Perfect, 2-minute question. While affordable housing is obviously a significant part of the solution to the homeless crisis, another big component is the lack of adequate mental health and addiction services, a major area of county responsibility. What would you do to try and address this problem? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. On the forefront, working with high school students today, fentanyl is frightening. In 2020, we lost several students in my district to fentanyl poisoning, and I was on a Zoom call with the head of behavioral health and asking questions. When she paused and she said, "I have to take this test," she came back and said, "What school district are you from?" I told her what school district I was in. She said, "I get a text every time we lose a student. I'm sorry to tell you it was one of yours." I learned everything I could about fentanyl from that point. And one thing that I found that is very important is at that time, school policy only allowed staff to administer things for allergic reaction. So an EpiPen. They were not trained or allowed to administer Narcan. So we started at the top with getting policy changed and then worked down. Throughout that time, we ended up having community events. Joe Sminian came. We had doctors and police and EMTs. Everyone came, and we had a huge event where we passed out Narcan to everyone. And that had culminated on this Wednesday night when one of the students has made their own film. It's called Fentanyl High, and it focuses on mental health. It focuses on why our young students turn to drugs in the first place. And then it goes on to explain the danger of the addiction rate. This is a drug that we have never experienced before that addicts almost at the point of the beginning of taking it. So it addicts and it kills. And having programs in place at the young level with families so that they grow to understand these things is key to fighting this. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And this is an area where experience matters. I have dedicated my life to advancing behavioral health as a human right and housing as a human right. And when you choose to elect a county supervisor, you're choosing to elect the person whose job it is to leverage state dollars into our county for healthcare services. And as the CEO of the largest health and human services nonprofit in the county, the largest county contractor of those services, I understand how these dollars work. We need new behavioral health infrastructure. I successfully have raised 14 out of $15 million for a new behavioral health campus in Watsonville that's going to be breaking ground in 3 months. We need to invest. Thank you. We need to be investing in leveraging the state reform efforts that are happening right now. CalAIM is the biggest reform effort of our state Medi-Cal system in the history of the state. It's rolling out today, and I've been advancing that for people who are experiencing homelessness, for transition-aged youth, for children, pregnant mothers, people coming out of the criminal justice system. We are taking services to them. We're wrapping wraparound services and case management services with therapeutic services to help people to thrive. We also need to go upstream. We need to be starting in our schools. Just yesterday, I was in a meeting with Dr. Fair Sabah, the superintendent of schools, talking about how to advance our school districts as healthcare hubs for behavioral health for children. So that way, before they end up in crisis, before their teens in crisis, we can start them early, because we're seeing incredible crisis among children in elementary school today. As a parent of 2 elementary school kids, I see that myself. And as somebody who picks up the phone every day because people are seeking help, I hear about it every single day. So as your next supervisor, you will have an expert in these services up there in the county level. Thank you.
I think it's important to address root causes. I think we have a well-oiled, very extremely experienced crew in the county and in entities like Encompass, get that grant money in place to help react to mental health issues. But how do we prevent them? If we reduce the amount of stress, the amount of suffering, the lack of resources that people have, we'll find that we won't have as big a problem with mental health issues, right? The biggest cause of divorce in America is finances, of families breaking apart, lack of stability. The situations that I've experienced in my own life with individuals who've been pushed to the edge, 9 times out of 10, it starts with not having enough. So I think it's not going to be enough to react. It's going to be important to fund, the nonprofits, the work as arms of the county, when it comes to helping with behavioral and mental health. That's important. But it's also important that we invest in preventing, the kind of situations that create mental health crises for people. We have to have a safety net. We have to encourage community, and we need to be proactive about these things so that we don't have to spend so much on the other. Just like criminal justice, right? This is one of those things that we can make a big impact if we get there early. Thank you.
Spacious time, 1 minute to wrap up the thought. And that's what we're going to start over here with this.
All right. Got that long break there. All right. So to wrap it up, I'm interested in representing the people to the government. I met with Senator Laird not long ago, and that's something he impressed upon me. He said, when you get into office, remember, you're not there to represent the government to the people. You're not there to find out how to say no. You're there to find out how to get a yes for your constituents and for the people in your neighborhoods. That's what I want to work for. I want to step up and represent our people. I want to make sure we have the resources we need to make the positive change that's going to make a difference for the future of our community. But again, you're not going to get different results by doing the same thing. So let's be brave. Let's try something new. Let's push things forward and be aggressive in our representation. Right? We need people to fight. It's not enough to just float along now. We've got to get aggressive. We have to be smart and capable and passionate. And I'm all these things. I'm looking forward to representing you guys. Thank you.
So in our brief time together, you've heard a little bit about me, and hopefully one of the things you're realizing is that having an authentic voice is something that's really important to me. It's something that I've worked on my entire life. And it's something that I will bring as a supervisor. It's something that will help me to be courageous and compassionate. It's something that's going to help me listen to all of you and to help to bring forward creative solutions. Because I know that it's not just my voice that matters, but that it's all of yours. And so I want to lead forward our shared vision of equity, of justice, of dignity, of affordable housing, of an inclusive community here in this Santa Cruz County and in the 5th District. And I need all of your help to do that. I don't have the privilege of just walking into this seat. I don't take anything for granted. I need your help. So I'm asking for your endorsement today. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause.
That's okay. You ready? I'm ready. Okay, great, thank you. I'm probably the least known to you of the candidates, and I'm honored to be sitting here with them. I want to make sure everyone understands that I feel like I'm running alongside them and not against them. So important today that we understand that we, in an America that is a democratic nation, that anyone can run, and we want to encourage them to come forward and do that. I have been elected 3 terms. I govern regularly. I deal with families regularly. I know that at a young age, if a child goes off track, we can make change, and we have programs that can put them back on a track where they will be successful in life. Having that knowledge and working with families every day gives me a different perspective coming to this new role. I hope you will consider me for Supervisor 5th. Thank you.
First District, city's 1st district race. Grab your name, please. Same for that. 3-minute introductory comment. With a 2-minute, different 2-minute question from the county supervisor, Scott, and a minute to wrap up. And we'll start with David, a 3-minute introduction.
Good morning, everyone. I take the opportunity. It's TANN, We're just going to point to some spelling right quick because it's a good way to break the ice. I cherish the opportunity to stand before all y'all this morning and introduce myself. Thank you. Some of you maybe are familiar with this lovely face that you see before you. Maybe you've seen my bright pink beanie, my reflective vest, biking to work. Those are nice. We're getting suited, getting started. We're the guinea pigs for the city council district, so we're find our place. So many of you may have seen my face working in the trenches, literally for the Santa Cruz Water Department. And for many of you, I look forward to the conversations we're going to hold moving forward. So I want to introduce myself, David Tenassi. I'm a product of this environment. I work for this community. And I proudly am in public service currently, working for the water department. In the intricacies and the complexities, kind of what Bruce has touched on, looking forward to the resilience of our communities in the future. As a biologist, I appreciate and embrace complexity. I don't think about our issues as isolated, operating in a vacuum. I think recognizing the intersectionality of them is integral in finding solutions. So I think about three prime areas: our environment, our people. Our environment, with my background as a biologist, I have an intimate understanding of the importance and the value of putting our natural resources first. For our people, very solid track record, and many of you may recognize my face from our recent historic labor strike in the city of Santa Cruz. I have a very fine understanding of bringing together disparate people, voices, and making sure that they are included in the conversation, as opposed to being put in the background. Bringing our voice forward, fighting and fighting for dignity and respect for all, is the baseline of operation of my leadership. And thirdly, with my last 30 seconds, as I say about the stage, our future. We know that the future coming is something we have not faced as a community. My intimate and unique knowledge of the development of this town, working through with the water department, provides me insight and understanding of the complexity of what it takes to move our community forward to a future we want to see for all of us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gabriella Triguero. I also had a bit of a spelling error on mine, so it's Triguero.
That's on me.
Right, it happens all the time. So some people call me GT for a shortcut, and I love that because we're often on email now. I'm a proud Democrat. I've been a Democrat since I could register to vote. So I've been registered here in Santa Cruz County for the last 10 years, also in Alameda County and Sacramento County ahead of that. I've been really happy to volunteer for the DWC too. Some of you know my face because last year I was trying to give you more precincts to take to walk for folks and for the slate. So I loved getting to know the DWC members through that. I've also supported Democratic candidates in Alameda County and here in Santa Cruz County and Alameda County. I worked primarily with Latifah Simon, and I built my thesis and my capstone in my master's program, which was about public policy, about equitable fares for BART in that time. And here, I've been really fortunate to support Shevra Kalatari Johnson in the past. I was a volunteer for her program, or for her campaign last year, and then she invited me to work for her. And it wholly shifted my life here in Santa Cruz County. So I want to give a shout out to Shevra and also to Deborah Feldstein, who's a member here, who also shaped my life last year. I'm really proud to have a couple of endorsements that I want to mention. I got the YIMBY endorsement, and that felt amazing because I'm a single mom and a renter, and getting the YIMBYs in town to say that I was okay with them meant a lot. I also got the endorsement of Ryan Coonerty and have had his support, and that was really stellar to receive. The current councilwoman for my district is Martine Watkins. I saw her here earlier. She has given me her endorsement as well, so I'm really thankful for that. So as your candidate, along with Dave, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to serve. I have a master's in public policy, as I mentioned, so I'm more of a political analyst rather than a front of house person. But I'm happy to step forward and be public facing. I already am serving as a commissioner for the city. I serve on the Commission for Prevention of Violence Against Women, which is focused on, of course, preventing violence, but also really encouraging dialogue and education about safe spaces in Santa Cruz. And that work is immense to me. In my day job, I'm executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Santa Cruz County. That's youth development, that's one-on-one mentoring, which is about mental health for kids. So that's my day-to-day, and I'm really, really proud to serve in that capacity. And I've recently expanded our service area to include Monterey and San Benito. I'd be honored for your endorsement. Thank you.
So the question for the city council. Given that the state of California has taken away a lot of local control over how much affordable housing has to be built, but left some control over where that housing is built, what do you think about options like higher buildings downtown, more housing on transit corridors, more density in residential areas previously zoned for single-family use? Open-ended question about, where should we be building housing in our community?
Absolutely. So until recently, I was actually a resident of District 2. I was living in the Lower Ocean area, and I've lived in Lower Ocean for much of my time. And then I moved up the hill to District 1 this year. And yeah, I see the variation on need for density, and I see the need for access to public transportation and safer corridors within that. So I think some of those things go hand in hand. In Santa Cruz here, we do need to go up in certain areas. We absolutely need to address that with affordable housing. That's building inclusive communities, that's building mindful communities, and building transit-oriented communities is something that was heavily important to me during my master's thesis, and as I talked about in my capstone. That's how you build resilient communities, and that's how you support missing middle, which is also something that a lot of folks have talked about here in Santa Cruz, how to support teachers in our area, how to support professionals in our area, and working families. That I serve currently, housing insecurity is the top thing we talk about with the families of our youth, and it impacts the mental health of our youth. I feel it absolutely has impacted my personal life. So I appreciate that question. Thank you.
Wow, that is a dynamic question. And everyone in this room, everyone in this community knows that is at the forefront of our minds. What we're looking for is the opportunity to generate housing for all of us, not just one type, not just one kind. The state mandates are not necessarily misled. They're giving us a direction as to how we want to move forward to address the pressing need. Building housing in areas such as high traffic corridors addresses more than just housing concerns. It addresses environmental constraints and concerns. As we're expanding our public transit system and our opportunity to have multimodal access, including bicycle, safety, and corridors, we see housing being generated in those areas with great positive effects in more than just stable, affordable housing for all of the community. With 1 minute left, I look forward to talk about the fact that the most important thing we have moving forward is a bottom-up approach. We're trying to turn the existing dynamic, which has been a top-down director kind of growth model, and we want to shift that voice and that involvement to all of our community. So when the question comes up of where do we want to see and what kind of housing, that is a question for all of us in the community. A great place to start with that is weighing in all of us into our objective standards. The objective standards are what direct the opportunity for building and growth, not only downtown, but at large in the city. The involvement of the community in choosing those objective standards and enforcing those objective standards is what we're here to discuss today. So the goal being from the bottom up, grassroots, we as a community get in and get involved in the conversation for where and how. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank the coordinators for putting this event together to bring Dave and I out of our regular grind to come forward and connect with you all and hear from the other candidates. And yeah, I am excited at the opportunity to serve on City Council. I've really enjoyed being a commissioner for the city so far and the work that I've done with my fellow commissioners. And although I would have to let go of that, I would look forward to scaling that change at the city level, and working to empower youth, support families, and build a more inclusive community here in the city. So thank you very much.
Closing statements, I'll be simple. Engagement. Thank all of you for being here and being engaged. I think about the past, the present, and the future. I smile because I'm looking here at a face that at 14 years old, I looked up to with great regard. And now he's participating as a local coach for a high school, active as a teacher. Those kinds of involvements, as we are growing older and moving forward and setting the tone for the future of our community, is the type of engagement that we need from all of us. So as each of us get involved, and as each of us encourage those around us to speak their voice, to make sure that diversity and inclusion are at the forefront of this process, so that no voice is left behind, and thus no group is left behind, and thus no concept is left behind, and no creative answer is left behind. That is our goal. I look forward to your endorsement, and thank you very much for having us here.
Next, we'll go from the second district in the city of Santa Cruz, city council, please. Pick up your name tags on your way up to the meeting. Hector, you got a name tag. It's a name tag. Start with some 3 minutes to introduce your campaign.
All right, good morning, Santa Cruz and all of you. It's so wonderful to see everyone here engaging in this process and listening to all of us candidates. My name is Sonia Brunner. I use pronouns she and her, and I'm running for re-election to Santa Cruz City Council District 2. Now, this is a new thing for City of Santa Cruz to have districts, and I want to tell you a little bit about District 2. Some notable places in my district: the Museum of Natural History, the Brant Forty Library, Seabright State Beach, Fire Station number 2, Murray Street Bridge, Barrios Unidos, many sea lions, sea otters. We have Jesse Street Marsh, Ocean View Park, Frederick Street Park, Arana Gulch Open Space, Tyrell Park, Mike Fox State Park, Star of the Sea Park, Santa Cruz Harbor. So, I'm running because I want to continue to build on our future for Santa Cruz, for all of us, and for my daughter, our children, the next generations. That's what it's about. I've been a 31-year resident of Santa Cruz and almost a decade in District 2. It is definitely home, and I've worked with many District 2 neighbors over the last couple of years as a council member on various concerns and topics that are important and that they want to see work done on, and that includes public safety, speeding. We had some roads striped. We made a plan for bicycle striping and safety, and we have also worked on various issues along Soquel Avenue, metro bus stops, small business support for the Midtown businesses. And as mayor and vice mayor over the last couple of years, I have just given myself as a public servant in so many areas of the city and worked my butt off for long-term financial stability, affordable housing. We reached our 5th cycle housing goals. and we received pro-housing designation. I will work to continue that trajectory, and it comes with working with all of you, and it's citywide, even though I'll be a District 2 representative. I'm also voting on issues that affect our entire city. So I'm happy to be here. Sonia Brenner, thank you.
All right, buenos dias, everybody. Over here. So back it up, back it up. All right, we good? All right, for sure. So, buenos dias, todos, comunidad. My name is Hector Marin. It's such an honor to be here with the Democratic Women's Club, and thank y'all so much for opening the space, for opening, community to be involved so they can hear from all candidates. So, major shouts out to y'all. I wanted to also, embrace, me, as as a candidate and as a community organizer and as a renter and as an educator. Women have really inspired my way of living. I've been raised by women. One of the women that really inspires me is my abuelita. Every single time I would go down in SoCal to visit my abuelita in Mexico, she would always have some pozole. It's pozole season right here, so. A little bit of abuelitas pozole would be awesome, But she would also give us care. She would also give us community. She would also show us how, being involved within your church is so important. Giving food to your homeless. That's the one thing that's so pivotal. And with my abuelita, she really inspired me in being more involved with comunidad in this capacity to help represent Latinos, Black, Indigenous people of color, and all renters. And not only that, but also the working class, the poor who also live within this community, who are also misrepresented, or not misrepresented, but underrepresented, right? And sadly, my abuelita passed away recently, and with that, I'm ensuring that we honor her memory by being more involved with community, by having these engagements, by ensuring that we're in service of our neighbors, and by ensuring that we all just embrace comunidad in general, by ensuring that we embrace our, our vecinos that are within our vecindarios as well. And a little bit about me, right? I work as an educator, and even as an educator, I'm daily in the community. I work with students that have differently abled needs, and we need to ensure that we provide a much more different perspective in the city council, ensuring that we embrace spontaneous new creative solutions that are community-centric. Daily, we are always, affecting and creating policy that affects our comunidades, right? But how is our community having a say within these matters? How are we taking the initiative to also display our leadership, to involve them further in the local political process? And that's the one thing that our office will embrace in the future together, So that's the main thing that we are striving to do. And also, not only am I talking the talk, I'm also walking the walk, I'm not running for office, I'm walking. So, and with that, in my experience, I was recently part of the Circle of Anti-Racism, Economic and Social Justice Group, and we passed a countywide policy to create equity. So we got the experience. Gracias. Thank y'all so much.
Back a little bit.
Back
Yeah, here's the question again. Given that the state of California has taken away a lot of local control over how much affordable housing is built, left some control over where that housing is built, what do you think about options like higher buildings downtown, more housing on transit corridors, more density in residential areas previously zoned for single family use, other housing questions?
Yeah, of course. So this is an amazing question. So thank you so much. Just like my students in which I educated at Harvard High, like have awesome questions. So I love that question. And the answer for that is it's a community-centric approach, ensuring that we involve all of our neighbors within the local political process. The one thing that's going on is that we're creating developments, we're creating, all of these housing projects, and we need to ensure that we create customizable plans per neighborhood in ensuring that we build a maximum amount of inclusionary housing units, while also ensuring that we maximize building that is appropriate within the vicinity of that neighborhood. And that would be the key that our office would take in the future. Not only would we also do that, but quite recently, I know y'all are, you know, I was in the DWC in District 4 with y'all. Y'all are wondering, why is this guy in District 2? Why is this guy running again for city council? Is he just hopping between districts, right? The thing that happened recently is that I was recently displaced. I was living at the beach flats and I was evicted from the flats. And I was not the only one that was evicted. It was a comunidad of Latino folks that was also evicted because developers sold their property. And with the first-hand and direct experience of being evicted, I can manage. And I was able to manage to receive housing within District 2, and District 2 opened their arms. And within District 2, we have lower ocean areas where there's Latino folks. So I would directly communicate, coordinate, and provide also tenant support for our comunidades in lower ocean. Because these evictions, I mean, the one thing that's going on is that we need to ensure that, yes, we you know, partner with developers, but we also must ensure that we as a community involve everybody. Like right now, I'm trying to hold in my emotions because there was a teacher, or not teacher, but a parent that cried to me saying how she's being displaced, and that's the reason why her student wasn't able to come to class. So we need to ensure that we involve them within the political process.
Can you read the question again?
Given that the state of California has taken away a lot of local control over how much affordable housing to build, but left some control over where that housing is built, what do you think about options like higher buildings downtown, more housing on transit corridors, more density in residential areas producing soon for single family use, and other housing questions?
Thank you. Just wanted to get all those pieces. Housing is a very, 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 very important topic in our community, in the state, across the world. I grew up in Berkeley. After Berkeley High School, I moved to Germany. I lived in, another country. Coming back here, moving to Santa Cruz over 30 years ago, I became a single parent. I was a mom that was working and trying to go to school, and housing was my #1 challenge. And still to this day, as a renter, I'm rent burdened, and it's very hard. So I sat on the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. I saw that as a solution to learn more and understand how I can affect change in this topic. And I sat as a tenant commissioner for several years, a couple years, and then I rejoined again in an at-large seat several years later, and served altogether 12 years. And I have taken all of that knowledge and information about our programs. We've increased vouchers and subsidies, but my work on city council has been about adding supply in addition to the subsidies, and we need all types of supply of housing. And we have the housing that's coming along our main corridors, along the transit stops. We've had so many community meetings, and all of your input has been so helpful. Thank you. Working with neighbors in all the neighborhoods across the city, even in my own district, District 2, we recently had a new development with some great input on what that looks like, what the needs are. And I just hope to continue making just progress in this area of housing for our needs in the community. Thank you.
We have 1 minute to wrap up.
Okay, so with closing remarks, I would like to emphasize the fact that we need to embrace diversity, right? And that's why I love Sonia. Sonia is so amazing with that. We also need to embrace younger people within our local political process. And what's going on is that we're making daily choices that affect my generation, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, right? Climate change is very real. The climate crisis is super real, and it's going to affect us the most. So we need to ensure that Generation Z has a voice within this city council, and we also need to ensure that we involve our neighbors within the policies that we make every single day, right? We can't just show up on election day and say, hey, come vote for me, and expect everything to be good. We need to ensure that there's that ample daily connection, that we keep our residents in loop, that we form these policies, these developments with our neighbors, and that we ensure that we involve comunidad to the maximum that we can. So that's something that my campaign will definitely do. We have done the numbers, we have done the work, we passed this equity framework, 1,000+ people. It would be an honor to receive your endorsements. Gracias.
I'm asking for your support and your vote on March 5th, 2024. I look forward to our progress and to set goals to ensure that we really remain resilient and keep working forward and moving forward. If reelected, I am committed to continue to build towards equity, healthy, well-being city programs, people, and really getting Santa Cruz continuing the sustainability, leading with integrity, working tirelessly. I had so much I wanted to say in my closing statement, and I just hope that those words and my actions thus far stay with you. Your vote will definitely ensure a hardworking, committed person going forward for the next 4 years. I'm committed, so I'd be grateful for your vote, and you can visit soniabrunner.org. Thank you.
Be a round of applause for the candidates. Next, we'll hear from the third district. Next, we'll hear from the third district city race for the city council. Start with George. Stand up, stand up, play it.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Joy Schendeldecker. I'm running for City Council District 3. Thank you for organizing, and thank you all for coming and staying. It's always a little distressing when when people start drifting out of the room and you're like, no, you have to say. So I think about reproductive justice a lot, and when I say that, it's going beyond the question of reproductive health to the question, can everybody be, do, and live well in our community? And to quote one of the organizers behind the reproductive justice movement, all people require a safe and dignified social context in which to make decisions about themselves, their families, and their communities. This depends on access to specific community-based resources, including high-quality healthcare, housing, education, a living wage, a healthy environment, and a social safety net for times when these resources fail. Safe fertility control, childbirth, and parenting are impossible without human rights protections. So do we have reproductive justice in the city of Santa Cruz? Not for everyone. No, I don't think so. Certainly not for a significant majority of our residents and our city workers, when you think about it with that expanded lens. So how can we work for a fair economy so that we can all live well here? I think we need to do some very basic foundational work before we'll be able to make the transformations that we truly desperately need. I believe we need to move up the ladder of civic participation so that residents and workers have agency and true partnership in governing their communities. This can be achieved by shifting a modest amount of consultant fees to funding precinct assemblies and participatory budgeting processes. We need ranked choice voting. We need publicly financed elections. We need to do whatever we can to overturn Citizens United so that we don't have the California Apartment Association funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars into our community to promote an anti-democratic agenda that disrupts our political spectrum and our conversations that we have. We also desperately need a citywide community workforce agreement. I'll speak more about that in my answer about housing, since I'm just about out of time. Thank you.
Good morning, almost afternoon. I'll echo what Joyce said. Thank you for being here. My name is Shebra Kalantari Johnson, and I'm running for re-election, and I'm running for District 3. When I first ran for Santa Cruz City Council over 3 years ago, it was because I wanted to contribute to this beautiful city that I've had the privilege of calling my home for over 20 years now, where my husband and I live and raise our kids and run our small businesses. My personal history and experience as an immigrant, which many of you have heard already, have shaped my values of building strong, healthy communities. And these values have guided me over the last 3 years on City Council. I prioritize issues that I've heard from you are important. We have a lot to celebrate. As a community, we've increased our investment in youth. We've prioritized safe, vibrant parks and open spaces. We focused on workforce housing. We've decreased the number of individuals who are unsheltered living on our street. You heard 22% earlier, 29% in the city of Santa Cruz over a year. And we've done that by providing shelter and supports. We've improved our public transportation, over $50 million of competitive state and federal funds to our community. And we've implemented climate resilient solutions. I'm grateful for my colleagues on the Santa Cruz City Council for their efforts to make this happen. Now, we've made great strides, but we all know there's a lot of work to still be done. Let's celebrate the progress, but let's also talk about what we want to do tomorrow and in our future. So, take a moment and still yourselves, whatever that means for you. Take a deep breath. And envision a Santa Cruz where our neighborhoods are filled with kids playing in their front yards, using parks. In my district is Neary Lagoon and Lighthouse Field to build community, and accessing protected bike lanes like the Bay Corridor that I'm working on to get to school and sports practices. Where Westcliff is fully restored, and we've implemented nature-based solutions to maintain coastal resiliency so that our children and grandchildren can continue to access this renowned gem. Where we've transformed our downtown alleyways into attractive and functional spaces, and our small businesses are full and they're thriving. So envision that. We're not too far, but we have some work to do. Improving Santa Cruz and reaching that vision requires effective, pragmatic, experienced leadership. And that's what I have brought in my 20+ years of a public health advocate and worker in this community. That's what I brought on the city council. I've been here, and I hope you know you can count on me to work my hardest, listen and collaborate with you, and approach our problems with a pragmatic mind and a compassionate heart. And I'll stop on that. Thank you.
Last question.
I think I got it, but if
Okay.
you want to put it on.
No,
Okay. All right, you asked about higher buildings downtown, housing along transit corridors, higher density in neighborhoods. Look, we say here that our values are inclusion and equity. We say that all the time. And sometimes we don't put policies and practices in place that help us actualize that. I think that in past decades, we've done a poor job of housing. So all of that, I would support all of that. I have supported all of that. We've made some progress. So I think Councilmember Bruner mentioned that we met our housing RENA goals for the state. We were only 6% of the state that was able to do that. We've been given the pro-housing designation. Yes, that was worth a clap. So those are big deals, but we do have a lot of work to do to actually be an inclusive community. We need housing everywhere, and we need to be thoughtful about our approach and our process. Councilmember Bruner again mentioned a housing project on SoCal Avenue that was a contentious one. but we worked with neighbors and we were able to beautifully land on a consensus, a compromise and a consensus to build that very much needed housing. We need to be thoughtful about the communities that we're creating. Are we creating livable communities? Will people have access to the resources that they need, such as public transportation, such as grocery stores, such as parks and open spaces? So we have a lot of work to do. We've made progress. I formed this housing elements subcommittee as a council member, and we made sure to put forward policies around getting rid of exclusionary zoning and focusing on fair housing. And hopefully we will be voting on certifying that on our meeting on Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't need you to repeat it either, thank you. The short answer to that question is yes, 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 yes. Right, our zoning laws are racist and we should get rid of them across the board. We need more density everywhere, including in my own neighborhood, which is mostly single family homes and on transit corridors. We need to prioritize affordable housing, that's key. Because when we build market rate housing, if we're not very careful, it's a gentrifying force. So I think we need to be very conscious about that. And like I was about to say in my introduction, we need a community workforce agreement desperately. We should have had one years ago, to be honest with you. That means that our community values would be pre-negotiated and borne out in our large development projects, both public and private. A CWA would be a logical companion to our hard-earned objective standards, bringing together the building trades, organized labor, local workers, youth and apprenticeship programs, small business owners, minoritized groups, and all kinds of community groups. It would be the positive ordinance that backs up our 2019 Green New Deal resolution. We need to build, so let's do it with integrity, protecting workers, local businesses, and neighborhoods from exploitation and gentrification. I'll also say that between all the barriers to building and the variability of the economic climate, i.e. raising interest rates, it could take a decade or more to build out of this mess. There's so many things that we can do to inch our way towards building enough affordable housing. We need to protect people in their housing now. We need to protect people who don't have housing now. We need safe places for people to exist, whether it's camps, safe parking, or tenant protection programs like rent control. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for being here and participating in this democratic process and civic engagement. This was the promise of America that my family moved here from Iran in 1985. And I believe in this process. I believe in our Democratic Party, and I believe in our community. And I know that we can continue the progress that we've made together in the last several years. I have been effective, I have the experience, and that's shown by some of the strong endorsements that I have, including Democratic leaders such as our Mayor Fred Keeley and Council members Bruner and Watkins and Golder and Newsom, who serve with me right now in the Santa Cruz City Council, and organizations that uphold our democratic values and create healthy, strong communities, such as Planned Parenthood, our Santa Cruz Firefighters, Police Association, and our Bus Drivers Union. So I hope you join me today and on March 5th and give me your endorsement for the DWC. Thank you.
So my campaign is endorsed by the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council. That's affiliates of over 80 labor unions. Santa Cruz for Bernie, SEIU 521, that's our city workers, and the UCSC College Democrats. And they have chosen me as the candidate who consistently sides with people over profits. I'm dedicated to the well-being of every member of our community. advocating for quality housing, good jobs, and robust social safety nets. Through genuine community engagement, I will reassess budget priorities and a champion for a fair economy. Since my candidacy for mayor of Santa Cruz in 2022, I've remained active in local and state politics and in community engagement. Notably, I was elected as an Assembly District Delegate and have attended the spring and fall state Democratic conventions. Check out my website for more about me and contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you all for staying. We have two candidates in this race, and we'll start with Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. And thank you to the Democratic Women's Club for having me. And it's amazing members who came together to make this. It's not on. There we go. Okay. Good morning, and thank you again for having me. It's amazing to be able to speak to you today. I'm Joe Thompson. I'm a current UCSC student in my third year majoring in politics. Before this, I was a former Starbucks union organizer for the first two locations in all of California, right here in Santa Cruz. And thank you. And as an 18-year-old, I experienced a toxic work environment at Starbucks. And I didn't sue Starbucks or give up and quit. I fought against a multi-billion-dollar corporation and won. For me, that was what was the right thing to do. I was with my coworkers, the Ocean Water Starbucks, and almost daily we had experienced harassment, people overdosing in our bathrooms. There'd be people who would come in and expose themselves to me, and it was a major issue that we were dealing with, me and my coworkers. We also had a manager who would sexually harass baristas, steal our wages, and was overall a completely toxic work environment that I was living through. I decided to fight and join a union with my coworkers, and we're the first in the state of California to do so. I think that shows what my values are. Standing together and forming this union has made me continue to fight for Starbucks workers all over the state. Now I currently work for SEIU Local 1021, continuing to organize more Starbucks workers, most recently in Yuba City, where we had a 12-5 victory for the union. I've also worked for our Assembly member, Gail Pellerin, on her state assembly campaign, and State Senator Aisha Wahab in her district office. While working for these two amazing women, I learned what public service truly means. I learned to always fight for my values and my beliefs. I learned to always stand tall and to build broad coalitions and get things done through a pragmatic lens. Now I'm running for Santa Cruz City Council District 5 because I want to be a voice and an advocate for the students, seniors, and working families in District 5 and throughout the city. Making government work for people is what I'm really about. In the city of Santa Cruz, that means supporting workers' rights and their right to form a union. It means a focus on real affordable housing and streamlining the process of getting developments approved. And while working with our local nonprofit housing developers. It means ensuring the city hits its goal of zero carbon emissions by 2035 and working towards a robust transit network, improving active transportation, and building housing near jobs so people can walk, bike, and take the bus to work. Finally, it means making the city council more transparent and democratic so that everyone in our community can have a voice in city policy. So thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to talking to you and answering all of your questions. Thank you.
We haven't hit the afternoon yet. Good morning, everybody. I'm Susie O'Hara, and really do thank you for staying through the entire forum, and thank for the DWC for hosting. I'd like to share the reason I'm running for city council through the three themes that have shaped my experiences raising a family here. So our family moved here in 2006. My husband was starting a job teaching history at UCSC, and I was home raising our three daughters. For 5 years, we tried to make a go of it on a single income family. That proved to be nearly impossible without the support of a growing network of friends. What I learned during those lean years is that working families need systems of support to thrive here. And those with less resources need local government to step in, provide what we can't be found in our family and friend networks. In 2010, I decided to return to my career as a water resource engineer and began working for the City of Santa Cruz Water Department. For years, the city had been planning to develop a desal plant to diversify our drinking water supply. That plan failed due to community pressure. My time working at the water department opened my eyes to the impact of our community's no growth policies, especially on affordability, housing, and ensuring those in the service industry can make a life here. In 2013, my city role transitioned to focusing on public safety and homelessness response. I began developing and implementing programs to address these difficult issues. When you work in direct service, you see and understand the problem through the unique eyes of your clients. I spent the last 8 years of my time at the city in direct service while also developing policy, seeking outside funding, and forging partnerships with government jurisdictions and community-based organizations. What I learned is that without coordinated approach with the county, service providers, and funders, the city will fail in solving our homelessness problem. These experiences shape not only my understanding of our community, but what is needed to ensure a vital future for Santa Cruz. First, we must press to build housing and make progress on our affordability issues so that our working families, our service workers, and our unhoused neighbors can live and thrive here. Second, we must reduce our carbon footprint, invest in our infrastructure, and prepare for the impacts of climate change. Lastly, we must continue to make progress on our homelessness challenges by leveraging the county, service providers, and funders to the greatest extent possible. What sets me apart from my opponent is that I come to this process with a tremendous amount of experience. I know the issues. I have worked on solutions. I know the systems and I've built the relationships. I can begin working from day one to make a difference in the lives of our residents. So thank you very much for the time this morning, and I really would appreciate your endorsement.
Given that the state of California has taken away a lot of the control over how much affordable housing you build, left some control over that, where that housing is built. What do you think about options like higher buildings downtown, more housing on transit corridors, more density residential areas previously zoned for single-family use and other housing issues?
Okay, so let me put my daughter Bridget, a 17-year-old senior in high school here, who's a local grown Santa Cruz child. Solving our housing crisis means densification and building up dummy. This is not a one solution fits all approach. We must densify our downtown and build up without compromising the vibrancy of our downtown. We must lower hurdles and barriers to build ADUs, duplexes, and triplexes in our neighborhoods. We must continue to reimagine our industrial zones to incorporate more mixed-use development. And we must balance our long-held values of protecting our environment and resources with creating opportunities to develop housing. We must develop for all income levels. We must include all voices, and we must try harder and make compromises, and we must not stop in the face of no growth opposition. Our housing element outlines where we can develop over 3,500 new units of housing. Our council needs to commit to pushing that forward and not stop. I will use my engineering background and my city employee background to do just that. Thank you.
This is a great question, and especially impacts students living on campus. And I'm honored to be the only candidate endorsed by Santa Cruz YIMBY and other pro-housing organizations. And Santa Cruz is the most expensive rental market in the entire United States. We've heard this over and over again. But what does that mean? That means that 9% of current UCSC students are homeless or experiencing homelessness. This means that we need to address the housing crisis that is impacting not only the constituents in District 5, but throughout the entire city. I believe that we need to build 3 types of housing. We need to build more student housing on campus to make sure that students that go to the university are being housed there so they can live and walk and bike to the campus at work. We need to make sure that we're building missing middle housing, make sure we're building all types of developments so people can get housing, where there's people who are trying to get Section 8 vouchers, or people who are have maybe a higher paying tech job in Santa Cruz or in Santa Clara County, and they can't find housing here because it's being taken up. So we need the missing middle housing for people that truly need it in our communities. And lastly, I think that we need social housing or cooperative housing. The only reason I'm not living out of my car or homeless is because I got super lucky. I live in the El Rio Mobile Home Park in the district. It is a rent stabilized park. And for me, if I didn't live there, I would most likely be living out of my car, like many of other fellow students living on the university. And for me, this really highlights the problem we see in Santa Cruz. It is a major problem that is not being addressed by the city council because there is not a student or a student representative to the council advocating for issues that impact the district of the majority of the students in this district. So for me, I think we need to address this housing crisis straightforward. We need to build housing near transit corridors and truly affordable housing in District 5. I'm proud that in District 5 so far, about 60% of current developments are 60% affordable for people that are very low income and low income. We need to continue building at that level and make sure people have housing that meets the needs of the people in this district. I will be a fighter for affordable housing and a champion for the students in the district and the working families who need this housing so much. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about myself this morning. I'm running for city council because I love this community. I've spent the last 17 years in service to Santa Cruz through my volunteer work and career at the city. I've devoted my life to service to others, and I'm running for council to share my experience, my heart, and my courage to solve our most pressing issues of affordability, housing, climate change, and homelessness. As an engineer, I know how to build sustainably. As a service provider, I know how to create pathways for our neighbors out of homelessness. And as a lifelong public servant, I know how to build partnerships and leverage relationships. I know Santa Cruz political landscape, and I know I can make a difference. If this message resonates with you, grab me or my campaign manager, Lauren Noble, she's out there, she's raising her hand, and get involved with the campaign. I need donations, endorsers, folks to plant yard signs, and folks to walk the district. Thank you again, and I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll turn it over to Jim.
Yeah. Again, thank you all for having me here. It's always a great pleasure to come to DWC events, whether it's endorsement forums or when we're talking about Westcliff Drive. It's always a pleasure. And I'm very excited to cast my vote alongside you in these District 5 endorsements for DWC. And for me, I've really enjoyed taking the time to talk with you. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can go to my website, joethompson.com, or you can come talk to me right after this. But I'm astonished at the support we have received in our community so far. I'm honored to be the only candidate endorsed by other Democratic clubs, Planned Parenthood Advocates Maramonte, Santa Cruz YIMBY, the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council, 6 former mayors of Santa Cruz, and over 50 local, state, and federal elected officials, including Congressman Rocana and former Assemblymember Mark Stone. This race is really important to me. And as my opponent mentioned, I lack experience, but I want to get on the job experience. And that to me is making sure that there will be a fighter for the district to advocate for students, seniors, and working families day in and day out, and somebody who will do the work that's necessary for this district. Thank you.
Now, for those of you who are watching online, this is your chance to cast your ballot. And so, again, I want to remind you, you have to use your name as it's spelled when you signed up to become a member of DWC. You can't change it to a nickname or something different, or you won't be recognized as a member. Other than that, thank you all for coming. Carol has an answer. We have 30 seconds of more silence.
The ballot box is out. The ballot box is outside. Please take your ballot out. We're going to close ballot collecting in. We're going to close ballot collecting in no more than 5 minutes. The ballot box is outside. Take your ballots out. We will count in this room, and we will get a notice out to our MailChimp list by 2 p.m.
Let me say, all of the candidates and the media will receive a list of our endorsements as soon as we get that resolved.